Communication isn't just about, sending emails or talking in meetings. It's the engine that makes everything else work, from productivity all the way to innovation. And that's because mastering it isn't just about swapping information. It's about building real influence and trust.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, it all starts by understanding that great communication is a skill, not just some natural talent people are born with. It's something you actually build. So let's walk through the blueprint, starting with the absolute must-have fundamentals.
Okay, first things first. Before we even think about complex strategies, we have to make sure our foundation is rock solid. Every single message you send, whether you realize it or not, is built on these core principles.
I want you to think of every single interaction as a broadcast happening on 3 channels at the exact same time. You've got your words, right? The spoken word. Then you have the unspoken cues, your body language, your tone of voice, and finally, the written record, like an email. The secret to being credible is making sure all 3 of these channels are perfectly aligned, because if they're not, people get confused and your message just gets lost in the static. And speaking of alignment, get this. Research actually shows that your nonverbal cues can carry over 65% of a message's total meaning. That is huge. It means your posture, your tone, your eye contact, they can literally speak louder than your words. When what you say contradicts your body language, guess which one people believe? Yep, the nonverbals, almost every single time.
So how do you make sure your message lands perfectly every time? Use this checklist, the 7 C's. Think of it like a quality filter. Now let's be honest, in our rush to get things done, 2 of these often get forgotten: complete and considerate. Think about it. How often do you get an email missing that one key piece of information? That's a failure of complete. Or a request that totally ignores your current workload? That's a failure of considerate. Just nailing those 2 can prevent so many follow-ups and build a ton of goodwill.
Okay, so we've covered how to send messages. Now, let's flip the script and talk about the other half of the equation, how to receive them. The engine that powers real connection is a mix of emotional intelligence, your EQ, and the powerful discipline of active listening. Did you notice the word discipline there? That's key, because active listening isn't passive at all. It's a proactive, totally engaged process. It's about hearing the words, sure, but it's also about understanding the context, the emotion, and the real intent behind them. This isn't just about being polite, it's a critical tool for stopping problems before they start and building deep, genuine trust. So how do you actually do this? Let's look at the toolkit. Instead of just nodding along, try paraphrasing. Okay, so if I'm hearing you right, the main concern is, then ask clarifying questions that dig a little deeper. And this one's crucial. You have to fight that urge to immediately jump in with your solution. Your first job isn't to solve, it's simply to understand. Okay, we've covered the principles and the right mindset. Now, let's get tactical. These are basically plug-and-play frameworks you can start using tomorrow to bring structure and crystal clarity to some of the most common and, let's face it, most challenging workplace conversations. First up is the CARS framework. I mean, how many times have you gotten a vague request like, hey, can you look at this? It's so inefficient and frustrating. CARS is the antidote. It's designed to make sure every single request you make is totally comprehensive from the get-go. This structure is actually really simple and logical. You provide the context, you explain the attempts you've already made, you state your specific request, and then you clarify the stakes. This shows so much respect for the other person's time because you're giving them everything they need right up front. And here it is in action. See how much better this is? In just 4 sentences, the person getting this request knows the background, what's been tried, exactly what's needed from them, and why it's so urgent. This is a total game changer for effective delegation. Next up, a framework for what might be one of the hardest things to do at work, giving feedback. I want you to forget the feedback sandwich. You know, the one that's often vague and pretty unhelpful? The CBIN framework gives you a model that is direct, constructive, and totally focused on action. Now, the most crucial part of this is that the framework focuses on specific, observable behavior, not someone's personality. You state the context, describe the behavior, explain the impact it had, and then together you define the next steps. This takes all the judgment and a lot of the emotion out of the conversation. Here's a perfect example. Notice it's not, you're a confusing presenter. It's, here's what happened, here was the result, and here's how we can make it better together. An approach like this turns a potentially difficult confrontation into a really powerful coaching moment. So having these frameworks is amazing, but the most sophisticated communicators, they take it one step further. They know that one size does not fit all. They have this incredible ability to adapt their communication style to fit their audience, which creates instant rapport and makes their message way more likely to be heard.
So this table breaks down 4 common styles. But how does this actually work? Well, if you're updating an analytical manager, you'd lead with the data. Project X is 85% complete and under budget by 4%. But if that manager is a driver, you lead with the bottom line. Project X is on track to launch early. For a relator, you'd start with the team impact. The team is collaborating really well and morale is high on Project X. Just adapting your opening line can completely change the dynamic of the conversation.
And of course, in our modern hybrid world, adapting also means mastering digital etiquette. These do's and don'ts are the new fundamentals. Simple things like looking at the camera to create eye contact and muting when you're not speaking. They make a massive difference in how you're perceived professionally. So we've covered principles, listening, tactical frameworks, and adaptability. Where's all of this leading? Well, the ultimate goal is to become what you might call a keystone communicator.
I absolutely love this metaphor. Just like a keystone in an arch, this is the person who, through their communication skill, becomes the central element that supports everyone around them. They create clarity, they build trust, and they drive collaboration, making the entire team stronger and more stable.